All right, let's go ahead and get started. If you're here for episode 36 of Toolbox Tuesday, we're going to be going over our cycle counts application. This is a newer application of ours. It came out in Q4 of 2024 last year. So already getting a lot of demand for it. As we can see with this webinar, we've already got 30 something people in and we had about 80 something registered. So really excited for that. Today you have myself as usual, and you've also got Preston here, who is one of our product managers, specifically the product manager for our cycle counts application. Preston, if you want to jump over to that next slide, we'll kind of run through this real quick. So as I mentioned, you got myself, you got Preston. I'll be going over the PowerPoint real quick. Preston will jump into the live demo. Don't want to take a whole lot of time in the PowerPoint, as you all know. Want to get right to the meat of things with that live demo. But before we do so, let's go through the quick agenda, which is on our next slide here. First, we'll go through the gaps as we always do. Then we'll go over our solution and how this can help your organization. Next thing we'll go through is the live demo of our Cycle Counts app, which Preston will be leading up the charge for us there. We'll actually dive right into Business Central, show you everything from the setup to actually utilizing the app as an end user. Whether you are an end user or if you're a partner implementing this for your clients, we'll show you everything in between. Then we'll end the presentation with the next steps, what you can use to be successful and take this into your demo environment. Everything comes with a 30-day free trial, which I want to highlight now, but we will also highlight at the end of the presentation. We'll go through some resources. We've got a bunch of videos, documents, all that good stuff to make you successful after this call, as well as the recording, which we'll be posting on YouTube later today. And then finally, I have Q&A here. Please feel free to ask your questions in the chat as we go. I threw up just a test in the chat, so if you see that, you're in the right spot. Just make sure to throw any comments, questions, anything like that in the chat, and I'll be monitoring those as Preston goes through the live demo. Makes it a lot easier as well to answer the questions as we're going through the topic rather than waiting to go to the end for everything. So with that, what are some of the gaps that exist in Business Central today? Namely, we have four. The first being how manual it is to both calculate and maintain those physical inventory codes, right? Period codes, how often we're counting those items, right? It's a manual process in Business Central today. We're going to make it a little bit easier. The second is that there's not really an easy way to both schedule and monitor that cycle counts are being done in a timely manner or on a regular fashion, right? So we're going to have some additional things that help you manage this. The third is the general journals that those cycle counts require, right? Manually entering counts, posting batches, if you're counting multiple items, right? Potentially running into some issues there. We'll show you how we make that a little bit easier. And then the final piece is, like with most of Business Central, there's not a whole lot of great statistical analysis or notifications that are going out of the system when items are out of balance or adjustments are being made. So naturally, this leads into some of the solutions that we've created, our team, with the Cycle Counts app. So if you want to jump over there to the solutions, we got about 6 or 7 different ones, namely that help solve the gaps that we previously looked at. So the first one, which we'll see in the demo, automatically calculating your counting periods, right? So you're going to be able to put a different percentage in for how many you want to count: weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, all that kind of good stuff, right? And we have 2 different options when ranking them. So calculating the item rank, you can choose whether you want to do this on the inventory value, so how much inventory you currently have in the system, dollar value, or the percentage of sales. So you can either say, give me my top 20 items, let's say 20% of items based on their inventory value, or give me the top 20% of items that we've sold in the last 12 months. From there, we can automatically create a full annual calendar for these cycle counts. So with a click of a button, it's going to schedule everything out for the next 365 days. And you can tell it if you want to skip some holidays and weekends and things like that, which Preston will show you. The next is the actual physical counting process themselves, right? So for your warehouse employees, how we can simplify that process, increase the count accuracy. We can do things with blind counts, which is two bullet points down from there. And just ultimately making it easier, whether you're using lots, serials, all that kind of stuff. And then the final piece, of course, as you know, we love dashboarding, we love KPIs, all that kind of good stuff. And even more so, we love embedding them directly into Business Central and not having to go to external data sources. So that last bullet point will show you some of the dashboards that we've created around cycle counts, as well as some of the notifications we've created within our inventory adjustment emails. Now, if you've seen advanced notifications or seen our warehouse dashboard app, some of that's going to look very similar, but we've actually embedded it all directly into the cycle counts app. So think that's enough of me talking about what we're going to do. Preston, I think let's jump into the live demo and show them what we've got.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben.
Yes, sir.
So just like all the other apps, what you're going to want to do is once you install it into the sandbox. So for this one, it is CNT. So you can go ahead and type in CNT or Advanced Cycle Count Setup. This is where we're going to start. So again, jumping in there, just like all the other apps, right? We have the generate demo key. So you're going to want to do that for the 30-day trial. Or if you're on the UEL or purchased it, we can actually go, you can send us an email and we can give you that activation key to get that set up. So starting here at the top fast tab, the setup, just like Ben mentioned, we have the blind counts option. So you have the ability to turn this on to actually hide the calculated quantity when doing the counts. So when your user is actually doing the counts and counting them, if you turn that on, it will hide the calculated quantity. So that way they don't see that when they're actually posting the counts. Next here is the batch name. This is just the batch where all the adjustments are going to be posted against. So I created one for cycle count. You can leave it as default, totally up to you guys. The next three fields over here deal with the inventory adjustment. So I have it turned on to email on the inventory adjustment. And I have my email here. So essentially, it's only going to send me an email based on this threshold over here. So the inventory adjustment threshold, which is a dollar amount. So if the inventory adjustment is over $100 in this case, it's going to send me an email. So this is good, you know, when you're having users doing the counts, but maybe someone wanted to look over it and just approve all the counts and all the inventory adjustments. So when you first get this set up and kind of running through the counts, I'd recommend doing that just so you're aware of, you know, all the inventory adjustments that are getting posted. Okay, jumping down to the counting periods. So first is this number of workdays. So right now you can see there's 252, and where that calculation comes from is Monday through Friday for 52 weeks, and then subtracting out those company holidays. So if I click up here, you can see I have about, I don't know, like 8 holidays in here, 9 holidays in here. So that's why it's going to subtract 260 minus 8, which gives you that 252. So if you're wondering where that calculation comes from, that's what that's from. Next is the calculation formula. So here I have it set to percent of sales. So I know Ben briefly mentioned this, but I'll review it again. Essentially what percent of sales means is it will calculate the item rank based on annual sales. The other option we have here is the inventory value. So that will actually calculate the item rank based on the annual inventory value or unit cost times units purchased. So for the purpose of the demo, I'm going to leave it as percent of sales. Last thing here to just touch on is exclude non-stock. So again, if you wanted to exclude the non-stock items, turn that on and it won't include them in the counts. Okay, jumping down here to the different A, B, C, D tiered items we can include. So first, the percent of items. So this one, I'm saying we're going to have 20% of items be counted weekly, right? Going to be 20% of items be counted monthly. 20% of items counted biannually, and then the remaining 40 counted annually, right? So you can see here, I've already calculated it. So you can see once you enter in these percentages in the physical count codes and you actually rank the items, it's going to show you how many items you are going to count, right? So you can see there's 12 we're going to count weekly, 12 we're going to count monthly, 12 biannually, and 24 annually. And same with the amount of counts that are actually scheduled. So when you guys first download this, those will most likely be blank until you actually run calc ranking. So once you fill in these fields, you're going to want to come up here and click calc ranking. I've already ran this for the year, so I'm not going to do it on this demo, but that's what you're going to want to do, which will then run through each of the percentages and rank the items based on the calculation formula. Then you're going to want to calculate the periods. And so what that's going to do is look to the count codes and actually split them out between weekly, monthly, biannually, and annually. And then lastly, you're going to calculate that count schedule, right? So I've already calculated it, so I'm not going to do it again. But when you actually calculate it, it's going to give you the full count schedule. So we'll go ahead and view that now. So up here, you can see the scheduled date. I ran it for the beginning of the year. So you can see that each of these scheduled dates, since these were annually, right, it's counted once at the beginning of the year, and then it's good. As we scroll down to, let's see, today's date, which is 1/28, right? So these are the 3 items that we're going to be counting today. I'm just going to highlight them so you can see them. But these are the 3 items that we're going to count, right? And you can see the period codes here. It hasn't been completed yet. And then it gives you the item number as well. And it will show you every date going out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that. The next thing I will show you is the item ranking. So once you actually calculate the ranking, it will show you here kind of how the system did it or how this app did it. I'm going to filter on the ranking. So just to give you guys what it means by the percent of sales. So you can see that this item is ranked number 1, and that's because it takes up 50% of our sales, right? The next one takes up 10% of sales. That's why it's ranked number 2, so on and so forth. And just like you saw in the setup, we have 12 items here to count weekly, and it shows you all those scheduled counts. So again, you can come in here and drill down and see those scheduled counts and when each of them will be scheduled. But that's kind of just showing you the item ranking and how it's all done. Again, if you did it by the inventory value, the rankings would be a little different just based on this column instead of the percent of sales. Okay. Last thing up here I wanted to touch on is the view counts by date. So this is just going to give you a total number of counts for each day. So you can see we have 3 for today, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. It's skipping Saturday and Sunday just because those are non-working days for us. So we're not going to actually do any cycle counts on those days. And then we come back on next Monday and have 3 for each day. Okay, and then last thing, which I'll also show you guys after we do one of the counts and post them, but this is the count history. So it's kind of like that posted ledger of all the entries that the users who are doing the counts will post. So again, you can see it filters by the item number right now. If I wanted to see when it was actually counted, right, you could filter by this. So you can see we've posted a couple today. And just kind of showing you the calculated quantity versus the counted quantity and showing you if there is any discrepancies here. So we can jump back into that after I show you the items to be counted.
Awesome. We've got a few questions as well, and I think they're all interrelated. So we'll just go through them real quick. The first one is ranking items that are only used for consumption and production, but never sold. So under our current method, and Preston, correct me if I'm wrong or if you disagree with this, but I think you'd probably just want to use the inventory value, right? Because you're still buying these items. They still have a value in your system, but they are never sold. If you needed something a little bit different, we could obviously look at that, and we do with a lot of our apps, especially our newer apps, always looking for additional suggestions. But out of box today, would recommend doing that based on the inventory value. And then the next question, can we rank items being consumed in production? Looks like that's the same question, but if you have any clarifying points, please let me know. And then Paul asked, can we review the ranking methods again? So there's 2. We either can do it by percent of sales or by the inventory valuation. And when you calculate it, then it'll either take your top items, in this case 1 through 60, based on the sales volume over the last 12 months, or based on the current inventory valuation that you have in the system. Teresa asked, if we have 3 locations, how do you separate the cycle counts by location? So there'd be nothing you'd have to do in here when we actually use the app to mimic the warehouse employee. Each quantity is counted at a location or a bin level. So number of transactions by total sales volume. It's by total dollar volume on the sales side. So in that case, if you have higher value items, you may want to count them more frequently. It's kind of the idea there.
Yep. Perfect. And just going back off the separate cycle counts by location, just like Ben said, there will be a separate card for each item, location, and bin combination, which we can show you. But essentially, one other thing I wanted to mention as well is before we show the items to be counted, you can actually exclude items and locations from being counted. So just to call out here, if you go to the item card and scroll down to warehouse, there is a do not cycle count toggle. So you can always turn that on for specific items you don't want to count. And then just as the items, the same goes for locations. So if you go ahead and search for locations, and let's just say we don't want to count for Carly Test, you can actually turn on do not cycle count here, and that'll just exclude that whole location from being included. One other thing is the bins too. So let's say there's a shipping bin or maybe a receiving bin you want to exclude from the counts. You can always do that as well. So it's all up to you and your needs and how you want to use this app. But you can always exclude or include as many locations, items, and bins as you would like.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, just appreciate the questions. If there's any more, throw them in the chat. And if everybody's still with us and just wants to give a thumbs up or something that you're there and they react, feel free to do so. And we'll keep on going.
Perfect. So just coming back here, once you calculate ranking, periods, and the count schedule, you really only got to do it once unless you want to restart. But once you do it every day, you can have your users come in and search for items to be counted, or just search for CNT, as most of you know. So we'll go ahead and click in here. All right, so this is the screen where you're going to actually start those counts. So every day when you come in, it'll have a different set of items based on your total. If let's say you miss a day, those items will remain on this table. So it won't disappear unless you actually count them or delete them. So let's say I forgot to count today, coming tomorrow, it'll have 6 items here, right? 3 from yesterday and 3 from today. You can see the scheduled date, the item number. You can see if the count's been started, who it's been started by, and then obviously if it's been completed and what the period code is. Once it is completed, it will disappear off this list. So you won't need to essentially remove it on your own. It will automatically do that, right? So let's go ahead and start the count for this first item. Okay, so in here, you can see this is the cycle count card for this item. This is just the description of it. And you can see it's in location code East, right? So in this scenario, we're going to go and count 1968-S in location code East. The quantity on hand says there's 3, right? So let's just say we count 4. If you turned on blind counts, this would not be there, just so you're aware. So totally up to you. Let's go ahead and click close, right? And so when you click close, it's going to say, are you sure you want to post the cycle count? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. All right. And so that's why that cycle count batch is there in the background, because right now it is doing that adjustment for us automatically. So the calculated or the quantity on hand was 3, but I counted 4. So it's essentially posting that adjustment, that positive adjustment for us automatically. So you don't have to do it. Okay. Same thing goes for this item, right? This goes back to the question about the separate locations. You can see that it's 1968-S, but now it's location main instead of East. Right, so let's just go ahead and count 1, so there's no adjustment here, and go ahead and click close, and boom, it does it like that, right? So on and so forth. Now we're in location West. Let's count 5, so we'll do 1 above, 1 even, and 1 there. Okay. Perfect. So now we got through all 3 locations for that item. So you can see that item record is now off this table, right? So your warehouse employee could now go jump to the next item and continue doing these start counts and going through each locations and posting them that way. For the purpose of the demo, I'm not going to go through all of them, but are there any questions on this portion before I keep going?
Yeah, there are 2 questions real quick, and I think they're both potentially good recommendations. One is, do you have to post the counts individually, or can you post them in batches? So right now, everything's being posted individually, and that is on purpose because we have found, with out-of-box Business Central, sometimes having to post them as a batch can lead to, some issues or kind of things getting locked up, right? You can't post that until everything's been done, and maybe it takes an hour to count everything, right? Now it's all stuck in that batch that hasn't been posted. So that is on purpose, Chris, but if you have a use case where you want to post them in a batch, let's absolutely chat on that. David asked, is there a way to add the reason code? I don't think there is today, but I love that idea. So we'll definitely take that one down for reason codes for the adjustments. What if I have multiple units of measure? Can you go back into one of those, Preston?
Yep, let's see. So that actually we had 0 on hand for that one. Let me see if I can clear this filter and pull up some of the counts. Let's just maybe go in here and see.
Go to one that hasn't been counted yet, potentially.
Yeah, okay, maybe let me change my work date to tomorrow just so we have the other 3. Come in here. We'll go back to CNT. Okay. Start count. Nope, 0 on hand for that. So it does pop up a message if you have 0 on hand where, it's going to notify you that you don't have to count. Yeah, so different units of measure. I see that call out there.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that one, but we can definitely follow up with you there. Different people do different people do the counts at different locations. So would they have a way to go into the screen and only post to their location, or is there a way to filter on their location, on their specific location? That is one of the things that we're looking at splitting out to make it easier. As you saw here, you would just click next to basically get to your location. But we have had some other people request that same thing. So like I said, this is one of the newer apps that we came out with last quarter. So definitely looking for any and all suggestions that folks have to make it easier for their actual warehouse employees. Quantity on hand, is it based on item ledger entries? I believe the answer is yes there, but Preston, we can confirm there.
Yep.
Can you select?
It's based on the item ledger entries by the location and the item combination. So
perfect. Can you select an item and do a cycle count even if it's not selected? Carol, I might need a little bit more clarification on that one. Are you saying if it's not in your filtered list? If so, then you can unfilter it, kind of like Preston just showed. But typically the reason people are doing this is to kind of follow that schedule. So if you needed an ad hoc, we can definitely look at that. A lot of questions here, so we'll just keep going. Does this function only cycle inventory classified items, or can you cycle count non-inventory items in Business Central? I believe that was the non-stock piece, Preston, that you had talked about there.
Yep, and the setup page right back here.
Yep. Can we adjust the quantity based on bins? Yeah, you see that the bins is blank in Preston's. We don't have bins set up in this demo, but if you did, we can count by location and bin combination. Can it go by location than by item? Warehouse employees are at different locations, have no clue the SKUs at the different locations. Also, we do not usually allow any warehousing employees to post anything. Managers review and then post. So for that second piece, we have to look at some sort of workflow where they're not actually doing the posting. Again, we just have to split that function out. And then the location by item thing is what we had talked about before, that we were looking at adding in already. Random cycle count, maybe just to confirm the quantity. So yeah, Carol, that would be the whole purpose of it. Is we're kind of not randomizing it, probably isn't the right word, but scheduling it so that every single item makes sure to be counted within the next 365 days. So it is taking all of your items based on the rules, and we'll call it quote unquote randomizing it, but it's randomizing it based on the values, right? So it's taking those values and then scheduling it for you, so you're hitting your highest value items the most. And you don't have to do 20, 20, 20, 40. If you only want to count 5% weekly, you could do 5% weekly, 25% monthly, like again, whatever you want. But that's kind of the randomization there. And current quantity on hand is based only on posted transactions, or can it accommodate unposted transactions? Preston,
I don't think it would include the unposted, because if it does, then it would essentially just be a reservation entry, which actually isn't affecting the quantity on hand yet, because technically it hasn't left your inventory. So it's definitely based on the posted transactions and where the inventory actually sits.
Yep. Handheld devices, yes. If you're, I can overlay a screenshot when I post the recording. But if you've got the Business Central mobile app on your device, if it's a cell phone or a tablet or anything like that, it'll work the same way. It'll look almost identical to what Preston has up on the screen here, but it works both on the computer, obviously, and then any tablet or mobile device that has the Business Central app or is BC enabled. So as long as you get onto BC and log in as you normally would, you should be good to go there. David, can it be repeated during the year based on the percent of sales? Yeah, so you can recalculate it at any time, right? So you can recalculate based on current percent of sales, and it will basically, again, readjust all of that on your current percent of sales. One of the drawbacks of physical inventory journals is that if someone makes a sale after the batch is created, it does not adjust the quantity calculated. Is that correct? Correct in this method? Yes, that's why we're doing them one at a time versus in a batch, right? So that when you're counting it, it's showing you the current quantity on hand. Recounts, you'd have to define more so what you're looking for there. If you recalculated it, it would recount it. But again, if it's weekly, it's going to recount it every week, monthly every month, quarterly every quarter, etc.
Yep.
Sweet. Lots of good questions. Looks like everybody's definitely still with us. So I'll throw another React in there. Hopefully we answered everybody's questions up to par, but if not, feel free to throw them back in there. Got a little bit of time left, so Preston, I'll let you jump to the next next piece.
Just another call out I wanted to add here is when you're actually counting the items, if there is lot or serial tracking, it will open up another fast tab to pull up the lot numbers and what bin they're in. So let's say we had bins required at this location and we had lot tracked, it will pull up another fast tab with the lots that are in that bin and location. And it'll have essentially the same quantity on hand and quantity counted columns, but it'll be for the specific lots and not just the total amount at that location. So that's just another call out there I wanted to add. I don't have it turned on now for lot tracking, but that is possible. Okay, I'm going to click no on that. The other thing I did think about too, based on the approvals, is we could look into with the inventory adjustment threshold if we wanted to add some type of approval there to this email address or something. So that was a good call out. We will definitely follow up with you guys on that. All right. One thing I wanted to show you guys as well is how it looks in the item ledger entries really quickly. So you can see here, I've posted a couple today, but it does do the negative and positive adjustments for us, right? So you can see these were the two that I just posted. I posted one from the East location. It does that positive adjustment for us, and same on the negative side. So just wanted to briefly touch on that it does do it in the item ledger entries as well. Okay, I am going to search for the cycle count dashboard. So this is kind of the last part of the app for kind of the reporting purposes. So again, just like our other dashboards, if you guys are familiar, we have the date filters up at the top. I'm going to do month to date just because it is almost the end of January. So we're going to report on January. You can see here we have the pending counts. So because I posted the 128s, they are no longer here. If I didn't post them, they'd obviously show up. But you can see it just pulls directly what's going to be scheduled over the next week or so. Same goes for the posted counts. So again, it's giving you all the information on what was posted. One call out here is when it's highlighted red, it's just notifying you that there has been an inventory adjustment. So you can see everything that has been 100%, like the 100% accuracy, it's black. But once you have that discrepancy between the calculated and counted, it will highlight it red. So that's just helpful for you guys to scroll through and see what has been adjusted. Okay, jumping down to counts per day per person. So again, right here, there's just one person posting, which is the admin, which is me. But you can see, today we've obviously posted a good amount. As you start adding more people in here, if you have other people that count, you'll have multiple different lines and kind of just show you how many counts per day per person. As you change these date filters at the top, this will update just like all the other tables on here. Okay. Other thing is this item count stats. So I'm going to scroll down so you can see for each item, it's going to show you when the next scheduled count is, when the last time it was counted, and then the accuracy of them, right? So you can see here, there's one where the average accuracy is 99 because the worst was 91%, but the best 100%. So depending on how many times you count these, whether it's weekly, monthly, annually, quarterly, it's going to update these statistics for you so you can kind of know which ones are accurate and which ones you should probably improve on. Okay. Last thing to note down here, we have two bar graphs, one for the top item accuracy and one for the bottom item accuracy. So again, if you're looking at these, you can see a bunch of them are 100% accurate, and then it'll kind of decrease as you go down. So this will just allow you to come in here and see which ones, you guys are posting accurately and which ones where the counted and the on hand is actually correct. And same for the opposite sides. You can see they have certain items that are not 100% accuracy. So it just gives you that visibility as to which items maybe you want to keep a closer eye on throughout the year, maybe count a little more often. Okay, and just again, if you do come in here, you can drill down into the bar graphs and see the entries posted just for that item. So it's just more visibility onto all the counts that have been posted. All right.
Awesome. We got one other question just about does it show these stats by the location or the branch? Right now, it's just showing everything kind of in a consolidated fashion. But if you need those broken out, we could absolutely look into doing so. And like Preston has there, you can see he can filter individually on the posted counts. If you needed something on any of the ones below, we'd have to look at potentially making some changes. But you can filter on some of those things. But if it's not available, we'd have to look into it. But I can absolutely reach out after the call as well to see if you have any other requirements.
Perfect. All right, so those are kind of the three main things for cycle counts. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back over to the PowerPoint. And we'll go over to next steps.
Awesome. So thanks again, Preston, for that. And everybody who is commenting throughout. There was high activity in the chat, a lot higher than normal. So appreciate everybody being engaged. But the next step would really be to get this downloaded into your environment, right? We do 30-day free trials on all of our applications. For any partners, I see about half of it is partners here today. Get that in your demo environment if you'd like. Show it to your clients. We can give you those keys for the 30-day free trial. Any end users, get this in your sandbox environment. Play around with it with your own items. I feel like that always is the biggest value add. And the link that I just dropped in the chat will take you directly to AppSource if you're trying to download that 30-day free trial. The other thing that you'll find useful is about a 90-second video. That's the next thing I'm posting in the chat here. This will walk you through doing that activation all the way from going to AppSource, downloading it, generating the demo key, and getting to that setup page. So those would be the main two next steps, and then some additional resources that you can utilize in order to be successful. If you want to go to that next slide there, the first is going to be our Preston, if you want to go to the next slide there, sorry, for the resources, it just looks like it's stuck there, is the product page. So I'm going to drop the product page in the chat as well. This is going to list out all 36 apps that we currently have on AppSource. Every single one of those is going to come with that 30-day free trial. The next thing is AppSource. So it's going to have the same information as the product guide, like you can see in the bullets. It's going to have summaries, it's going to have screenshots, it's going to have user and setup guides, it's going to have videos. So really anything that you need in order to kind of self-serve without reaching out to our team. But of course, if you have any questions for our team or you want us to walk you through it, we'd be happy to set up any additional sessions. The next thing I dropped in there is our YouTube channel, right? I'm looking at it right now. We've got just over 100 different videos on our channel. This one specifically will be out there either later tonight or early tomorrow, walking through cycle counts. And then the final thing is our product guide, right? So we've done a lot of work on this over the last year or so, and our product guide is going to be a wealth of information on all of our applications. It's going to have fit gaps, it's going to have standard times to configure, train, all that kind of stuff, and just going to have some additional details like you'd find on our product page and AppSource. So got a few more slides. We'll skip the Q&A slide real quick, Preston, and then if you just want to go to the last two for some of the things that we have coming up in the future. So the first one, just as a thank you for coming out today, if anybody downloads this, no purchase necessary, but if you download this in your trial, get that 30 days going and you like it or you have something to say about it, please feel free to write a public review on AppSource. This helps us tremendously getting our name out there on AppSource. And as a thank you, if you do that, send me a screenshot and I'll send you a $25 Amazon gift card there as a thank you. Then for our final slide, we've got two upcoming events. So the next one is going to be our Toolbox Tuesday. So invoice and statement delivery. Cycle Counts today was one of our newer apps. Invoice and statement delivery is one of our top 2 or 3 bestsellers consistently. It's one of the first apps we ever created, and it's all about automating our AR processes. So whether you're sending invoices, statements with invoice attachments, payment reminders, doing recurring invoicing, all that good stuff, that's going to be in a couple weeks here in our next session for Toolbox Tuesday. And then in person, if anybody's in Dallas or in the Texas area, are going to be in the Dallas area on February 18th. Summit is having a what they call their roadshow. So I'll be there presenting. It's a single day. It's free and just a great opportunity for folks to learn and come to learn more about Business Central, not only from myself, but from a handful of other end users, VARs, ISVs, just people in the community that want to speak on optimizing Business Central. So if you're in Dallas, feel free to reach out to me. Look forward to seeing you there. We can grab a bite to eat or something like that. But with that, I think that wraps our session up today. I will stick around for any additional questions. I saw a few more coming in the chat there, so I'll stick around to answer those. But really appreciate everybody coming out here today for episode 36 of Toolbox Tuesday. And we'll see you guys all again in 2 weeks for invoice and statement delivery. Hope everybody has a great rest of your week.